Sam Carchidi, you're on with Ian Laperrière. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Lappy. Congratulations. And I just want to ask you, you've worked alongside Scott Gordon in the past, and how would you say your style is different from his, and are there some similarities?
Hi, Sam. Thank you. Yeah, I worked with Gordo for a couple of months there, and I guess we're different. Like, he's a really, really smart hockey guy. Learned from him for the 2 months we worked together. He knows the game well, and it's. But again, I wouldn't comment on that because again, I only worked with Gordo for 2 months. We all have our style. I know what kind of guy I am, and am I going to change? No, I'll be the energy guy who's going to bring life at the rink every day and make sure we're on the positive side. And I think that's what the young guys need. And they need a leader that's going to direct them towards the right direction, to be, to find a chair for those guys, especially those young guys coming up from juniors that just don't know what kind of player they should be as a pro. Because when you get to this level, everybody was pretty good in junior or in college. And I feel like my job and my staff's job is going to be to find the right chair for those guys, for them to be successful for the Phantoms. And if they are successful with the Phantoms, they can move to the next level.
Sam, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, when you mentioned the roster, when you look at the Phantoms roster, is there anybody on there or a few guys that really pique your interest, that guys you think are maybe knocking on the door to the NHL?
I don't know. I'll be honest with you, Sam. I started watching games last week just so just to get to know those guys. I see them in training camp with the Flyers, but again, we see them for a week or so, and usually, I'll be honest, we focus on our main guys. Maybe if the guys are on the bubble, like Frosty was last year, you kind of look at him and you're like, okay, I'll keep an eye on him. But there's so many guys in camp that yes, I'll talk to them, I'll see them on the ice and everything, but I don't really focus now. I do have all summer to focus on them and look at their game and what kind of players I think they should be. And I start working around with our development crew there. We do have 5-6 guys, and I ask them around what they feel about all the players we have down there. But I will make my opinion this summer, and maybe there'll be 1 or 2 guys that will make the Flyers team next year. But for me, when I'm going to come down here full time, it's going to make sure those guys become the best version of themselves, to give themselves a chance to make it to the next level.
Nicholas Fierro, you're on with Ian Laperrière. Go ahead.
Hi, Ian. Yeah, I hope you can hear me here because I'm looking at a different screen. Okay. Well, I was wondering what just you learned, and maybe everybody learned over this last year, and the pandemic's been such a strange year. Anything that you could take that you forward, and you think that there could be some permanent changes from all the different things that you guys were able to, that you had to do?
Learn from the pandemic?
Well, just procedurally, things that you had to do with the team, and the restrictions that you had. Do you see anything carrying forward, into this next year?
I don't think so. I think, at the rink especially, it's going to get back to normal. It's more like, with the Flyers, we did get tested every day. And yes, we had to wear a mask. But at the end of the day, we were at the rink doing what we love, practicing, playing games. And that didn't change that much other than the mask and testing. It was away from the rink, for our players and even the coaching staff to go home and not being able to go out and do anything. That was the toughest part, I feel like. And I think we're going in the right direction as the world's going in the right direction. The US is going in the right direction. I feel like next year, by the time the season starts, it's going to be back to normal. And if anything I learned from the pandemic, you got to enjoy life even more, because you never know what's around the corner. And that's why when I found out the job was available 2 weeks ago, I'm like, that's my chance to take a step and have a new challenge in my life. I always like to challenge myself, excuse me, physically and mentally. And that's my next big challenge.
Charlie O'Connor, you're on with Ian Laperrière. Go ahead.
Hey, Ian. Since you've moved into, a coaching role post-playing career, you've taken on a lot of different roles, within the Flyers organization, a lot of different jobs. Have you found, I guess, across those jobs that you particularly enjoy the developmental side of coaching? And if so, is that kind of why you think you're a good fit for this role?
I love working with the young guys. You know what? It's what I did as player development, and being an assistant coach. I was always like not the buffer, but the guy who played and could relate with those young guys. And I took that, and I loved it. And it's one thing that now I got a chance to do it as a head coach. I won't change my mentality. I like to work with those young guys, and for sure, just going through like player development and assistant coach for that long, and it really helped me prepare myself for this role. And there's one guy I mentioned earlier, and I didn't mention to you guys. I just want to give him a little shout out there, Paul Holmgren. Homer, like without him, I wouldn't be here. Like he's the guy who signed me the passion in the game, and he asked me what I wanted to do after, and I told him what I wanted to do, and he helped me from day one. And you meet so many people in hockey that some you forget, but Paul Holmgren, that's the guy I'll never forget. He's the guy who gave me all my chances, and I can't thank him enough.
Patrick Williams, you're on with the Laperrière. Go ahead.
Yes, Ian, congratulations. You've been an assistant coach for 8 years. Now you're moving into a head coaching role. How do you anticipate that adjustment to be, going into a very different type of job?
Well, it's going to be an adjustment for me and for the players around me. But at the end of the day, like, I'll be myself. It's taking me that far in life. I'm not planning on changing. There's one thing I do have control of the ice time. That's the thing I never controlled before, and players have to know that. And again, I want to bring like a way to, the way we're going to play. It's a style of play I'm going to bring in a structure that me and Avi are talking about. There's a lot of stuff that won't be negotiable in the system. And if players will make mistakes, coaches will make mistakes, that I can live with, but you have to stick with the system, with the structure that we're going to talk about, and hard work. And I mentioned it upstairs, I'm a big believer in fitness, and players that are going to play for me are going to have to be in shape, or I'll get them in shape. And they know that. Guys that know me, and the guys I coach with the Flyers that will play for me next year here, they know that, and I'm sure the word's going to be spread around. And for me to be a pro, you got to be a pro 24 hours a day. It's at the rink and away from the rink. And it goes from nutrition, the way you act around town, you represent the logo, and I'm a big believer in that. And that's my job to make sure everybody is on the same page.
Anthony Sanfilippo, you're on with the Laperrière. Go ahead.
Hey, Lappy, congratulations. I guess the question I have is, you've talked a lot about helping these guys become good pros and finding their chair. I know you've had that conversation with me in the past. But what's the difference at the American Hockey League level when you're just one step away from the NHL, as opposed to when you were working as a development guy, the guys that were still in junior or still just breaking into professional hockey?
Well, when I was dealing with the junior kids, I did some kind of job to do. Like, it was more like I'll come up every 2 weeks, watch you play, and talk about more like get to know the kid more than anything. I didn't want to coach when I did player development. I wanted to coach, but let's say I went to see Ghost at Union. I wouldn't tell him how to play D. That's his coach at Union who was responsible for that. I was more like my role was more to get to know those guys for the future, what kind of kids they were. Like, I met mom and dad, and just to get to know that kid. When you do come to the American League, well, it's different. Now I have hands on every day on you, and just going to do whatever I think it's best for you. And I do have a great staff, like, from the player development, the management, to help me out in that regard, to get to know those kids a little bit better on the hockey side. And the staff we're going to hire is going to be guys that think like I do, like, they have development at heart first, and after that, whatever. But it's that's the difference between being player development and worry about the junior kids and being in my position today. Wayne
Fish, you're on with the Laperrière. Go ahead.
Hi, Coach. Congratulations. You mentioned the fact that it was mentioned that you're one step away from possibly being an NHL head coach. Do you have aspirations for that someday?
I'll be honest with you, Wayne. Right now, my goal is to make those kids better here. And you know what? I'm a guy who goes day by day. I did that all my career as a player. I did that all my career as a coach, and that doesn't change. Like yes, the NHL is a great league and everything. My goal right now is to help the Phantoms compete and be, have those kids get better every day. And at the end of the day, if I can do my job by doing that, we'll compete at this level. And that's the way I'm focusing right now. I got enough to focus on that. I don't have time to think about the NHL. I'm worried about the kids I'm going to have next year, and I do have a lot of work to do.
Amy Johnson, you're on with Ian Laperrière. Go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, Ian. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Question for you, kind of following along with that. What do you feel really at the AHL level is the key to balancing kind of that three-tiered mission of creating a winning environment for the AHL team while also balancing young prospect development with the veterans you have on the roster and successfully transitioning those young prospects to the NHL game if and when they're called on to do so?
Yeah, it's one thing I'm going to learn. I won't lie to you. I don't know much about the American League. I know, by watching it and, being around people that coach here and play here, but there is a fine line for sure. Like at the end of the day, like it's going to go back to the way I want the team to play and back into the structure. I'm going to have those kids buy into that structure. And if they do get better, it won't be like a free ride. Like, if they keep making the same, not mistake, but if they don't play in the structure, they won't play. I go back to my, the only thing I control, it's the ice time. One of the big thing I control, it's the ice time. And it's part of being a pro. If you do the right thing, if the coach is asking you to do this and you don't, well, there's consequences. And, it comes with, if we have more guys doing it, we will win more games than lose games. But we'll see what kind of team we're going to have next year on paper. But it doesn't matter what team I get, I'm going to have to make them better. And it's going to, even if they're Flyers prospect or they're not, if you wear a Phantoms jersey, I'm going to help you be better as an individual. If I do, and we do as a staff a good job, we'll win more games than lose for sure.
We'll take a couple more questions. Jordan Hall, you're on with Ian Laperrière. Go ahead.
Hi, Ian. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I had a kind of a two-parter real quick. Do you know who your assistant will be, and can you disclose that? And also, just wondering who have been your biggest mentors in the coaching business?
Well, I'll start with that. Chief was my first coach I coached with. I like the way he is. He never changed. Like I had him as an assistant coach, and I coached with him when he was a head coach, and he was himself. And that's my goal. I'm going to be myself. It took me this far in life. I'm not planning on changing that. But again, as a player, I learned a lot from teammates I played with. As a coach, I did the same thing. Every coach I coach with, I learned from them. Okay, I like this. I don't like that. I'll keep this if I ever coach, blah, blah, blah. It goes through my mind. And I feel that's the way I played that long. And I'm planning on using what I learned from all the coaches I coach with and make myself a better coach. And what was your first question there?
Have you decided your assistant?
Oh, my assistant. Yeah, I'm in the process right now, but I feel like we feel like if I wait until July, there'll be more candidate, like top-notch candidate, out there. I do have names in my head, but for me, like with a perfect staff would be a D coach who played the position before and does have an AHL experience, and a forward with more like a skilled player who does have AHL experience. I'm in a tough position to hire a guy who never coached. I want guys that are better than me in certain area just to make everybody better. I'm not afraid of hiring like strong people and people with more knowledge than me. And I believe that's what makes a good staff, when you have people with different opinions around you. And I do, that's my goal. We'll see. Again, I'm going to wait. I know there'll be head coaching jobs available, around the league, and some of those coaches are going to go for those jobs. And I feel like at the end of June or beginning of July, there'll be big names out there, and we'll see.
We'll do two more questions. Rob Parent, you're on with Ian Laperrière. Go ahead.
Hey, Lappy, how you doing?
I'm good. Thanks, Rob.
Good to see you talking to the media again.
I always talk to media. I'm friendly.
You had basically 3 head coaches to work with the last couple of seasons. Can you talk about how different that was, if it was that different, or Just maybe how your role changed.
Oh, my role changed. We all know, like I went from being part of some special teams, with Chief and Axtell, and when AV took over, I went up there and, but that's one thing, I love this organization and I was willing to do whatever it takes. If they felt like whatever they need me to do to make this team better, I would have done it. And I was like that as a player, and it's in my nature, I was, and I don't regret it because I learned so much and everything. Last 2 years when I went up there, I saw the game differently. 2 years ago, this year I came back on the bench full time. AV gave me more, pre-scouts and everything, and I learned a lot. And that's the quality I have, I guess. Just learning from every position they put me in, and make myself a better coach. And Chief was Chief. Again, I talked about Chief. He's the guy that I respect a lot. I respected him a lot as a player. I have no choice, so he beat me up. But as a coach, I like because he never changed. He was himself, and that's what I plan to be. I'll be myself, but again, I'll be the head coach. I do have more power than I had before as an assistant coach, but I will bring positive energy and positive feedback. I don't believe in putting people down when they're, deeper when they're down already. I'm a big believer in staying positive. Coming at the ring should be fun. I've been in a game for 27 years in the NHL level. I love coming to the ring, and it's contagious. I know that, and I'm going to make sure players feel the same.
We'll do one last question. Sam Carchidi, you're on with Ian Laperrière. Go ahead.
Yeah, Lappy. Terry Murray has been rumored as a candidate to be an assistant. Have you had talks with him, and what is your relationship with him? And would he be a guy you would strongly consider?
I got a lot of respect for Terry Murray. He's been in the game for a long time, and I know Terry. He's a Flyer. I know him. I haven't talked to him. I talked to a couple of guys for the assistant coach's position just because they reached out. I told them I'd reach back at the end of the month, but no, I haven't talked to Terry. And I know he's 71 years old. He's done a lot in this game and this organization. But I'll be honest, I'm not looking for babies, but I'm looking for younger guys, if you want. I want to teach. And I believe that if you want to teach, you got to show how to do things. I'm not saying Terry can, but he's 71 years old. As a younger staff, I feel like the staff I'm going to hire, I want them to be involved. Not old school. I'm not saying Terry's like that, but when I first I started playing, coaches would go to the board and show what they want the players to do. Well, I'd like to have a staff that will go out, and if we need to show something, they'll go out and show it. And to do that, you need a little bit younger staff.
Okay, Coach, thank you very much for your time.
All right. Thank you, guys.